Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minute here and welcome back to the workbench for another unboxing. Today I'm taking a look at the Tamiya V1 in 1/48 scale. So join me as I get stuck inside the box and see what this kit is like. So starting off on the outside of the box, we've got this image of the V1 being intercepted by a Gloucester meteor down here. It does have the full name of the actual V1 as it was known, the Fiesler Fi103. Top left, it says it's 1/48 scale aircraft and it's the series number 52. We have some dimensions of 169 millimeters in length and 112 in width. Down the bottom, it's a ready to assemble precision model kit. And if you're under 10 years old, some modelling skills supposedly would be helpful. What I think they're suggesting here is this is suitable for those aged 10 and older, potentially adult supervision as well. Kit contains parts for one model. Flip over to the back, we can see on the back, turn it around that way, we have our painting instructions, which are printed in colour and fairly easy to follow. At the top, we've got the sort of single paint scheme that's included. I'm not sure how different these V1s would have been painted in real life. It's just upper green and lower blue to try and camouflage them as they travel towards their target. And then towards the bottom, it would appear we've got our assembly instructions. So as you can see here, we are building up the relatively simple construction of the flying bomb, with the main fuselage elements being joined together, then the wings, the air intakes and the tail. There is a little dolly, and this again doesn't seem to consist of many parts, but it has framework which needs to be glued together and some wheels added. And then we can add our V1 onto our dolly. We don't have to glue it in if we don't want to, because that means it could be removable. On the thin edge here, we have some more images of the sort of paint scheme, but a slightly more refined rendering. And then on the other edge, it's duplicated once again. We do have a copyright date over here, which says 1997. And that this was made in the Philippines. It is worth noting that a 1997 copyright date is not necessarily a tooling date, but I actually do believe in this case that 1997 is the tooling date for this kit. On the thin edges, we have nothing of note, just the same sort of stuff we have previously seen. So what we'll do is we'll get inside the box and see what we have. And that is that. So we've got a little bit of a sort of warranty card or health and safety information here, but as we've already looked, the instructions are on the box. We have a sheet of decals which are in this little bag, but the bag has been stapled together, so let's very quickly have a look at these. So these are Tamiya's decals. They're printed in Japan, it says down here, and we have quite a few different decals. Printing looks to be pretty good. The film doesn't look overly thick. I mean, I can feel it on my fingers and run it over the top, but it's not as thick as other companies. And the printing is pretty legible, even despite the small size of the transfers. Not a great deal, primarily just sort of stenciling and serial numbers. And if we have a quick look at our instructions, we can see that they are just sort of dotted around. We've got some, I think they're probably more like handling sort of information as you're moving around your V1 trying to prepare it for launch, just sort of little bits like don't press on here, or you know, where bits and pieces need to go. But yeah, so there are some little stencily things that we need to go on, but not too many. So if you don't really like decals, there's probably just enough here to be getting on with, but not an excessive amount. So let's put that down over there. And then we have our plastic parts, which again are in a little bag, which is sealed with some staples. There we go. So one sprue of a dark grey plastic. The plastic feels quite smooth, not particularly greasy. It's fairly dense. There is a little bit of flex in the thinner parts, but generally quite hard and rigid. And the moulding quality is really quite nice. There doesn't appear to be much in the way of flash. I am looking to see if there is any flash. No, I can't see any flash at first glance. It does seem to be a very crisp moulding. So at the top here we have our left side of the weapon, and you can see that we've got recessed panel lines and raised details throughout the moulding. As we come down, we have our air intake for our pulse jet, part of our dolly, the little grill at the front of the air intake, the two tail surfaces, and then the other half of the V1. We have our little wings and then the parts for the dolly, which are molded to a good quality. Ejector pin marks are not massively present on the sort of parts. So like they're on the insides of the fuselage parts and elements, but there are some ejector pin marks on this side of some of the components. Not on the tail or the wings, but on the dolly there are some here. There's some here as well. And there are also some on the internal edges of the wheels. If you were too fussed about those, they may need a little bit of cleaning up just to sort of hide them. But I believe this may be sides that are not necessarily seen. These may be, but I probably won't spend too much time addressing them. But yeah, that is pretty much it. There's not a great deal to see inside this kit, so a rather quick unboxing today. I think this will build up into a very nice, quick little model, almost like a starter set. Fairly simple to build, fairly simple to paint. So yeah, a nice set of plastic parts on one sprue. Details are pretty good, but the molding quality is really nice. But just a few ejector pin marks on some of the parts, which are less than ideal, but may not be entirely visible when you've built it. The decals look to be printed to a really nice quality, but it remains to be seen how well they go onto the model. We had a health and safety sheet, and then all of that came contained in the rather nicely illustrated box from Tamiya, with our painting and decal placement instructions on the back, printed in full colour. So yeah, not a complicated kit by the looks of it, but it does the job. It does just enough. So as mentioned, this had a copyright date of 1997, and from what I can find online, that is the tooling date. But let's face it, this is probably like a pretty discreet model. No doubt my version doesn't date from 1997. It is probably a much more recent manufacture, but there's no point in updating or changing any of this because this is pretty much as it stands. V1s would have looked more or less like this. I don't know how many variations of the V1 there would have been in their short usage life. So coming down then, we're going to talk about the price. The price of this, how much would you be looking at paying? Well, online in the UK at the moment, I can't find the actual RRP that Tamiya suggests, but it would seem that the asking price at the time I'm making this video is between about £9 and £13 here in the UK. I paid £11, which may be just a touch higher than some other shops are asking for it. I know quite a few places are just selling this straight up at a tenner, but I'm quite happy to support a local business. So yeah, £11 for this, not too bad. It's not overly complicated. There aren't a lot of plastic parts, but the parts that you're getting are molded to a pretty decent quality. So yeah, £10 for this, no quibble, no argument from me. Seems to be a fair price. And hopefully it builds up into a really nice little model fairly quickly. And with that, I think I'm going to call this one here. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of my unboxing and whether my assessment of this model kit was fair. As always, a quick shout out to my Model Club members for the extra support they give the channel. Massive thanks to these guys on screen, and if you'd like to join them or support the channel in other ways, full information is available beneath the video. The best way to support the channel for free though is by subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling upload. Finally though, last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll catch you on the workbench again next time.